This video, we're going to learn about some of the standard facts of circles. To begin with, the standard equation of a circle with radius r and center at hk is the equation x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. At first, it may look like a kind of a random equation here, but let me show you where it comes from. If you take a circle, and I know my circle's pretty poorly drawn there, but we'll go with it. And you take your center, which we're going to call h comma k, and then you take any point at all that's actually on the circle, we'll call that xy, then we know the distance from that point to the center is r. And the reason we know that is because circles are defined as all the points that are the same distance r from the center. That's the definition of a circle. So we're looking for the distance being r, and then you remember what the distance formula is. Distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, which, remember, this comes from Pythagorean theorem. Now that we have the distance formula, if we want the distance from this point xy to the center hk, it would look like this, and we want that to always give the radius r here, and now you square both sides, and lo and behold, we get the standard equation for a circle. Now there's a few different types of problems that we can ask you about with regards to circles. The first and easiest of them is saying that if I know I have a circle with radius 2 and centered at -3, 5, we can use that information to write the equation down. So sometimes they will give you the center and the radius, ask you to find the equation like this one. So we do x minus the x value, which is -3 squared, plus y minus the y value, which is 5 squared, equals the radius squared, 2 squared. And that simplifies down to x plus 3 squared plus y minus 5 squared is 4. And that would be what we were looking for. The question could also go in the other direction. I could give you an equation and ask you to find the center and radius. I could even ask you to graph it. So for this problem, they gave us the equation. And let's read off what we have for the radius. That's supposed to be, if you square it, you get 9. So the radius is going to be 3. And then from my center, hk, I have to ask, what am I subtracting each x and y from it, each x and y? X minus 2, so 2 is the x-coordinate. Y plus 1 is the same as y subtract -1. So the y-coordinate there is -1. So I go down over here and I look for x is 2 and y is -1. It's this point right here. Now that point is technically not part of the circle. The circle is going to be the points that are 3 units away from it. So if I were to go 3 units to the right, 1, 2, 3, 3 units up, 3 units left, and 3 units down, and then combine these together. And again, I know it's not drawn very accurately by hand, but that's okay. Get rid of the center because it's technically not part of the circle, and that would be our answer. Again, it's not an art contest here. We're not trying to make perfectly nice circles. We could use something like a compass to do that, a much better job of it. But we're just trying to get a rough idea and know how to analytically find the center and radius. Now, the hardest version of this type of problem is this last part right here, where we have a circle, x squared plus 10x plus y squared minus 4y is 7. And you'll notice it's not in the standard format. If it was in the standard format like the previous question, we could read off r, read off hk. But it's not. So instead, what we have to do is we have to do what's called completing the square. So we ask ourselves, what should we add to this x part to make it a completing square? So we take the b term, which is 10, we divide it by 2, we get 5, we square it, and we're going to get 25. And that means on the right-hand side, we're also going to add 25. Then for the y part, we got y squared minus 4y. Once again, we do b over 2 and square it. B is negative 4. Divide by 2 is negative 2. Square it, we add 4. Which means you have to add 4 on the right side as well. This will then work out to be x plus 5 squared and y minus 2 squared. And 7 plus 25 plus 4 is 36. So now we have a radius of 6 and a center at negative 5, 2. So occasionally you do have to use completing the square here. But this helps us find the center and radius even when it's not in standard form. And this is pretty much all we are going to need for circles right now.